So,
hello again.
Hello again.
Hello.
Nice seeing you here. I went on holiday recently, and it got me thinking about a few things that have changed over the years. And I don't know if you've been to Terminal 5 recently, but you do have to walk about 10 miles from the check-in desk to the boarding gates. I mean, honestly, if you look at your watch, I think I did 10,000 steps that day, and I went nowhere. Well, I went to Tenerife, but I didn't actually go anywhere, if that makes sense. I was sitting down for 4.5 hours. And what I realised was it's so much easier now going through an airport with the wheelie suitcases, right? We've all got them. And even now, I've got some newer ones that have 4 wheels on them, which means you don't even have to tip them over and carry that, like, wheel them diagonally. They actually go beside you like that, which is, I think, quite cool. Yeah, really cool. But I remember back in the day, like in the 80s, when Mum used to go on family holidays, my dad having these, like, suitcase things that were almost like big briefcases, no wheels in sight, and you had to lug the bloody things. And I just think, God, that must have been horrendous. I mean, you imagine carrying 20 kilograms worth of holiday clothes through an airport or wherever you're going without wheels.
It used to happen. I remember very clearly my dad, who was in the Merchant Navy, who'd be away for sometimes 9 months of every year, or would be away, come back from a voyage and then go off on another one or whatever. He used to have this massive suitcase. I mean, literally, you could put a body in there, you know, and it wasn't fabric. It was like kind of, it was hardish shell, a hardish material, not like Samsonite, not like those rock hard ones you get these days. But it was properly massive. It must have been, I'm just thinking, probably about 4 foot, 5 foot in diameter. And you're right, there were no wheels, so people had to properly lug them around. I don't know when the wheels came in. I reckon probably the early 1980s or early 1990s, because I clearly remember going on package deals to, like, you know, Spain, like Ibiza, and there were no wheels then on your suitcases. People had to properly carry them.
God, you literally...
Men were men then.
Men were men.
Yeah.
Men were
2
men.
big
First of
suitcases,
all,
one in each hand, and a fag on the go as you walk through the
hanging
airport.
out there.
With a glass of
Women
beer
didn't
or
carry
something.
their
You
suitcases.
could still smoke in the airport and then smoke when you got on the plane.
Oh,
You could.
Fantastic.
You absolutely could. Yeah, then they moved us to the rear,
Who did?
the smokers.
Right,
Oh.
right, okay.
Yes.
I thought you meant the men.
Might have happened.
No, my dad made a thing of carrying the heaviest thing he possibly could find. It was I know he was a weightlifter and a bodybuilder, and at one point I think he was England's number 2 middleweight weightlifter. He was huge.
Wow.
But he liked to flex his muscles, so he liked to be seen carrying a suitcase or 2 as though they didn't weigh anything. And I can picture him with us going on holiday, with him coming up the stairs with 2 suitcases, heavy, 1 in each hand, and another suitcase under one arm. And he would just make light of it. And I think that sort of stuck with me. So I still have never owned or used a suitcase with wheels, because there's just something slightly Larry Grayson about it, if you ask me.
They're also dangerous as well. As someone who regularly has to go through London Victoria Station, right, on a train that stops at Gatwick Airport. Okay, so it's all fine up until about Gatwick. Then a load of people get on with their suitcases on bloody wheels, right, and they dump them in the aisles. You can't walk anywhere. But the worst bit is you get off the train and you're having, I mean, I don't know about you, but when I walk somewhere, I tend to look ahead because that's anything coming towards me. You not only have to do that, you have to look down, because there's some bloke from bloody Portugal who's got his suitcase on wheels, and it's not just the Portuguese, dragging it and not looking where he's going, and it becomes a trip hazard.
Yeah.
You can tell I get vexed about this.
The game that I do on the huge concourse at Victoria Station, if I've just arrived and I'm heading for the underground and you've got to walk the length of it, everybody seems to be coming towards me. So what I do is I do a rugby commentary on me weaving my way through the opposition. So it goes. So in my head, I'm going. He was a Scottish rugby union commentator. I've forgotten his name. He used to talk like that, and he would say, if a Scot guy scored a try, he'd go, "Oh, they'll be dancing in the streets of Achtermachty tonight." So I do his voice, right? And I go, "Oh, he's gone round one person. Oh, now he's gone round another, and he's left another in his wake."
This is not out loud, is it?
I whisper it.
Oh my God.
I don't do it fully out loud, no. I sort of do it semi in my head. I do it in the high street as well. I go round one defender and round another. And if I'm on my bike and I'm catching another cyclist up, then immediately I am Tour de France. And I go, oh, the finishing line is just about 100 yards away and he's getting close. And then I go past as casually as I can because I don't want to embarrass them. Because cyclists get really embarrassed by being overtaken by another cyclist. It makes them feel elderly or weak. So I do it very discreetly. I might, morning, just to...
Passive-aggressive, that is.
What do you do in the supermarket, Tom? Is there a commentary going on in your head when you're pushing your trolley?
No, but I mentally rehearse what I would say to somebody if I had to.
Right.
About what? Why?
Well, wherever we are. I mean, I found out from the store manager of our local Waitrose that they call shoppers who go round the supermarket the wrong way. Instead of going through the fruit and veg and going out that way, they turn right.
Yeah.
They're meant to turn left in most supermarkets and do the fruit and veg thing first. And he said we call them salmon. Those customers who go the wrong way round, we call them salmon because they're swimming against the stream.
So you and I live in the same place in Chichester. So instead of going left, and I know the Waitrose well, I'm going to go there later, because they got fish. They used to really. I discovered yesterday afternoon at 4:30 that they're knocking. They basically reduce all of their fish, right? So I got some lovely sea bass fillets last night for £1.50 a fillet.
Wow.
Which is actually £1.49. Which normally you're looking at £4 or £5. So anyway, I'm going there later. But so instead of going left into the fruit and veg, you go right all the way along and start your shopping where the bread stuff is, and then go up to where the booze is, right? And there's salmon, right?
And where the milk used to be, but now where the alcohol is, which is furthest away from the till.
It is, in that top corner, isn't it?
You used to put the milk furthest away from the till, because a lot of people were going to the supermarket, all they wanted was some milk.
Mm.
So they put the milk as far away from the till as possible. So to get to the milk, you had to walk past the confectionery and the patisserie and all the little things that you might impulse buy, and you'd come out with 10 quid's worth of shopping, even though all you went in for was a pint of milk.
Yeah.
But nowadays they put the alcohol as far away from the till as possible to discourage shoplifters.
Yeah.
Oh.
Because the thing that used to be most shoplifted was alcohol, followed by
cigarettes, but they don't sell those
razor
anymore.
blades.
Yeah.
Razor blades are very... Well, you don't know anything about the price of razor blades, do you, really?
No, I just buy the disposable ones, like the cheap lady shave things.
You try them on your baby cheeks.
Luckily, I've never had to.
When I worked in a shop, we were taught two things as stackers, because I worked as a stacker for a bit. That and I think the psychology still applies today. So your eye level stuff, right, is the slightly above average, more expensive products. So if you're looking at shelves of wine, okay, do it the next time you're in Sainsbury's or Tesco's or Waitrose, right? You look at the red wines that's about eye level, you'll find that they're probably about £10-11 a bottle, all right? On the bottom shelf is either the home brand or the cheap stuff that they're knocking out at 6 or 7 quid. Because psychologically, you just look at it and just go, oh, that's a nice bottle of wine, I'll have that, right? You actually have to make some effort to look down and go, oh, actually, I might as well get that for 6 quid. We were taught that, to always put the cheaper products on the right bottom of the shelf by the floor. The other thing, apparently, and I don't know if it's true, is that tins all have to face the same direction, because people are more likely to buy a tin of something if they see, let's say, 26 cans of that same product, that same tin, with the logo facing out. If the tin is turned, let's say, a quarter of the way round and looks a bit out of sync with all of the other ones, people are less likely to buy that product. That's what I was taught. Don't know if it's true. God, I'm bored.
Have you ever taken a tin off the shelf in a supermarket and been a good customer and brought the one behind it forward?
No.
Well, you will from now on, because you get a tremendous sense of being Jesus.
I don't know, my mum taught me, in order to make sure you get fresh products and produce, you actually go to the back of the shelf. So when you go, if you were going to go into Waitrose, Tom, and go left, right, as I often do to get a bag of salad leaves or whatever, you'll find that there's some herber who's rummaged their way all the way through to the back to get something that's got a longer lead date on it, because obviously what you do is you put the stuff that's going out of date sooner to the front. I don't want that. I want the freshest bag possible, so I rummage all the way through to the back. Same with bread. So if there's a really messed up shelf, that's me, because I've had a rummage.
See, I do online shopping, so you kind of get what you're given. You don't get a choice.
Yes.
A lot of risk attached to that. A lot of risk.
Yeah, but I'm lazy.
Can we go back to Victoria Station for a second? Because there used to be a cinema there. Do you remember?
At the station?
Yeah. I'm a bit obsessed by this, because I once went there when I was a kid, because it was a big trip from the south coast to London, and one of the things was, before getting the train home, they used to have a cinema. So if you imagine arriving at London Victoria on the train, so you've come in on the train, it used to be on the far left. And
near the toilets, where the toilets are.
A bit no, it was actually quite near the platforms.
Oh,
That's
okay. Oh, right.
It's
So where the escalators are up to the shopping centre now.
but further over.
Oh.
By the shop that only sells soap.
Yeah,
Lush, is that the smelly one?
A little bit further forward than that one, right? And they used to show kids' cartoons. And I remember going, they only had about 40 seats in, 45 seats in, and you were able to watch a cartoon for 15, 20 minutes before getting on the train. If you go online and have a search around, which is what I did, because I thought, did I do that when I was a kid, or did I make it up? It turned out, before they were showing cartoon kids, they were cartoon shows for kids, they were showing newsreels. And that was the original origins of them. And there was one at Victoria, and I think there was one at Waterloo as well. But they were really dinky little cinemas that, as a kid, you could watch cartoons in, which I thought was great.
It's actually quite genius. You think even today, kids are so bored all the time, and their parents have to give them iPads to keep themselves entertained while they're waiting for stuff. Wouldn't it be better to just have an actual place where people can watch something, whether it's entertaining
it's
or
a real
whatever?
kind of, I'll look at it later online. Go down another YouTube rabbit hole, possibly, as we discussed in the last episode. But it was quite an Art Deco design, these dinky little cinemas. The other thing I remember about London Victoria, which I'm really gutted it doesn't happen anymore, and Tom, you'll get this, having worked around Fleet Street, but certainly up until the late 1990s and into the early noughties, they used to have a newspaper shack outside, like a shed, selling newspapers and magazines, right? They used to be open until 11 o'clock at night, and you used to be able to get the first editions of the next day's newspapers from about 10:20 onwards. And one of the things I used to love doing, being someone who works in the media, is if you've been out doing something in London, you're getting the last train out of Victoria Station, which even now is 10:30, which is bloody ludicrous, but you used to be able to go via the newspaper shack and get the next days. We call them first editions, so the first editions of the newspapers, they get updated overnight. To respond to news developments and stuff. We used to be able to be on the train home with, your copy of the Guardian, your copy of the Telegraph, your copy of the Mail, reading the next day's papers. But you can't do that anymore because that shack doesn't exist.
No, I did notice though that the newspapers that were on sale in central London at 11 o'clock at night had a particularly sort of Scottish feel to them.
Yeah.
Sort of like the headline in that day's Daily Mirror would be something like Prime Minister resigns, but the headline in the Scottish Mirror that was available in London at 11 o'clock at night was something like "Man dies after home brewing accident."
They still do.
This, of course, was because all the papers were printed in Fleet Street in those days, not just written but printed.
Yep.
In the bowels of the newspaper offices below Fleet Street. And of course they had to get the Scottish ones out first because they had to get on a train to go all the way to Scotland and be distributed to the Isle of Hebrides by Seagull or something, I don't know. But I do remember that it was there was a slant on the news coverage sometimes on those newspapers.
Do either of you have a train routine at all? And do you want me to explain what I mean by that?
I think I know what you mean, but go on, tell us yours, because you do it much more often, so you've probably got yours nailed.
Tell me what you think I mean.
Well, like a specific paper, a specific drink, how soon do you get there, where do you stand on the platform to make sure you're at the carriage, so when you get off at your destination you don't have to walk too far, that kind of thing.
It depends, absolutely bang on the money. It depends where I'm going. So if I leave Chichester, I have a routine now where I buy the Times newspaper in the morning because I like its coverage of world news and its obits. They're really good. And I think you get value for money for it. And I buy a single espresso from the guys in the kind of like the little concession there. And I always get hang on, let me get this right. I always sit at the back of the first carriage because there's more tables. So I like that. Then when I'm coming in the other direction, when I'm coming back, it depends on where I've been and what day I've had, and if I've eaten. So if I haven't eaten and I'm getting like a 3:30 train and haven't eaten that day, I'll go to the M&S food shop and I'll buy a couple of bits. There's always picky bits, which is a term I really hate. I always get a little bottle of orange juice because I like their they say it's freshly squeezed, but it's not concentrate, so it's all right. I get one of those, and I sometimes get some cold chicken slices that I'll eat with a fork, or I might get their chicken and bacon sandwich, and I might get a bag of crisps. I might do that. If it's late in the evening and I've been out on the razzle with people, I've had dinner, and I've got the taste for it, then I'll still go to the M&S food shop, but there's no solids that are being purchased. I try and work out what kind of alcohol I might like to finish my journey with on my journey home, and that's very complex for all kinds of reasons.
I've always wondered, they ban alcohol on the tube now. Well, it's kind of recent-ish, isn't it? About 10 years ago they said no alcohol. But then you're allowed alcohol on trains. So I'm thinking, I don't know, I just feel like it should be an all or nothing situation. You should either allow alcohol or not. I don't know if you've got a strong view on that.
Well, I don't have a strong view. I can kind of understand why someone sitting in a train carriage opposite someone else who's, on their fourth can before they've got to Horsham might find it a little bit off-putting.
His name's Tommy, yeah.
I kind of... well, look, we talked about it before on this pod. I just want to go back to a time, unashamedly, where we had the little trolley that went up and down, and you could get yourself a bag of ready salted and 2 bottles of Harvey's beer. And that, again, I'm going back to the 1990s when that happened, and that's all disappeared. And I'd go back even further and have a buffet carriage with a bar in it and a bacon sandwich available and a can of McEwen's. And none of that's going to happen. So, I think having, a little tipple on the way home is... They don't sell the right-sized bottles of wine at the M&S food shop of Victoria, because all they do is they do the ones which are really...
I think they're cute.
A 125 milliliter bottle of red, or they do the full-blown 750 millilitres, right? And even I would balk at opening a full bottle of red wine on the train on the way home, because I think that does send out a certain. I know, Tom, you're allowed to. What they should do, because I know M&S do this, they do half bottles in their shops, right? And that's a perfectly feasible, nice half bottle, but they don't sell that at the M&S food shop of Victoria, and that would nicely see me home. That's a couple of decent glasses.
Also, it's sharing. It's more sociable, isn't it? Where the little one is fine for one person.
I'm not sharing it.
Oh,
with anyone.
okay, fine.
Don't know why you think that's going to happen. So I'd have a glass probably between London, Victoria, and Horsham, where the train divides. Then I'd have my second glass all the way back to Chichester.
That's you should do the announcements on the train. I can just hear that now. This is where the train divides. Like it's a thing.
Time to pour your second glass. Yeah.
I was going to say, my train routine, I won't bore you with the whole thing, but I love a KitKat, but the only time I'll eat a KitKat is on a train. I don't know why, but I never fancy a KitKat, apart from if I'm at a train station, Paddington or whatever, and I'm thinking, right, what am I going to have a snack on for the next hour and a half? For some reason, it's a KitKat. I don't know what it is, but it does it for me. I don't want any other chocolate bar at all on a train. It's weird.
That is interesting. It goes back a long way, obviously. Maybe when you were little, a KitKat was such a treat.
Yes.
It was, wasn't it?
I'm wondering if it was like it was the first thing I had when we went to the services or something on the motorway on holiday or on the way to the seaside or something. Do you know what I mean? Because I think that's what it resembles for me. It resembles going somewhere, like out of the house. Like it's special. Yeah. The chunky ones especially. Oh.
I like those little tubes. You know Pringles. You know the crisp Pringles, the really big ones. Lovely. They do not at the M&S food shop at Victoria, but at the little place that kind of newsagents by the gate that you get onto. They do what I mean a small tube of Pringles, which is probably a quarter size, I think. And they're quite good. They work on trains because you don't have to rustle around in a packet. You just pick a Pringle out of the tube. Do you know what I mean?
I know what you mean. Yeah. But they're never enough, because I feel like I can get through a whole tub of full-size Pringles in one sitting. Yes. And when I've had those ones, because they give them to you on the plane as well, don't they, those little tubs, or the cinema, I get through it in about 2 minutes. I'm like, where's the rest?
Yes, the incident that I use, and I was there, I witnessed this, and I use it to illustrate my point that football has become far too corporate, in my view, occurred halfway in a game between Portsmouth and Sheffield United, and the referee made a decision which enraged the Sheffield United fans. So one of these Sheffield, mind you, men threw a tube of Pringles onto the pitch, and the top burst off and the Pringles fanned out. It was a 3/4 full tube of Pringles. Now, that spoke volumes to me about how football, the face of football has changed.
Yeah.
That men were now smuggling Pringles. Sheffield men, I have to say, were smuggling Pringles in, because they didn't sell them at the ground, obviously, and then felt affluent enough to waste 3/4 of them in order to try and mutate this tube of Pringles into a weapon, or at least a statement. And it would never have happened.
You're right. There was a time when Sheffield men kept this country running by going down the pits and digging up coal. Now they're taking bloody tubes of Pringles to football matches.
Yes,
that's not progress.
There are buildings in Sheffield which are still intact, and they have, and I've seen photographs of this, they have imprints on them about a foot off the ground where the brickwork has been smoothed away down the days and the months and the years by men who had no work but didn't want to be in the house all day, and they had nowhere to go, so they would simply crouch all day with their backs against these buildings. That was when men were men, as you rightly say, and would not have been seen dead eating Pringles. Never mind
let alone throwing them.
Weaponising them. Crazy. KitKat. I don't like to tell stories to people more than once, so tell me if I've told you the story about my mother-in-law and her KitKat.
Nope, go.
Don't think so? Okay, very quickly. My mother-in-law was a stern creature of routine, and one of her treats was when she was out to get herself a cup of tea somewhere in a cafe and a KitKat. And she did this one day, and she sat down, and a man came and sat opposite her because it was quite a crowded cafe. And she was sipping her tea because it was just about cooling down, and she reached across and she opened her KitKat, snapped off a finger, and ate it. And she was aware that the man was sort of eyeing her. And then he reached across and snapped off a finger of the KitKat for himself, and he ate it in a very deliberate way. So my mother-in-law swiftly snapped off another finger and ate it, but before she could finish the last one, he leaned across and ate it. And she was so upset, she didn't know what to do. What do you do? Call the police? What do you do? So she put her hat on and she walked out. And she put her hands in her pocket to get her bus fare, and there was her KitKat.
Oh, now I'm confused.
The bloke had bought his own KitKat.
Oh.
And he'd sat down with his cup of tea and his KitKat, and he put it in the
paranoid.
table. And she thought it was her KitKat. She'd forgotten that she'd put it in her pocket, right? So this bloke went home and no doubt told anybody who'd listened that he'd had a woman steal his...
Not only was she paranoid, she's a robber, a paranoid robber of a KitKat.
But the beauty of this story is there's Tommy telling this story, but also somewhere else around the world in a different family, there's a family story about this bloody rude woman.
Weird woman that stole my chocolate.
who was nicking bars of Grandad's KitKat on a train. Yeah.
Yes. My wife got talking to a bloke on the train as it was pulling into where we live. And it was our next door, a man who lives about 4 doors down from us. And she said, 10 minutes late again. And he went, yes, typical. And they chatted like that for a moment or two. And as they were getting off, she said to him, would you like a lift? And he went, well, that's very kind of you. I usually get the bus. And she said, no, come on, hop in with me. And it gradually dawned on her that she'd been chatting to this bloke thinking he was the man who lived 4 doors down, and it was a complete stranger. Oh. And she'd offered him a lift. And she squared with him, and she said, I'm really sorry, I mistook you for somebody I know quite well. He said, yeah. He said, I hope that was what was going on. I said,
wasn't being kidnapped.
But at the same time, he said, it felt quite nice to be flirted with. Or apparently even abducted.
Yeah.
By a woman. So, and I see him from time to time, and I always remind him, this neighbour, he's a very nice bloke. But we always have a laugh about it. So, yeah, your observation on that score, Duncan, is 100%. You can go away from a situation with a story, but as you rightly say, somewhere on the other side of the world, it's being told in a slightly different way.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
The thing with KitKats, right? I mean, I like them, but I always find that they melt too quickly. Because you take more time, or I take more time to eat a KitKat. I savour each bar. If it's each finger, there's a 4-fingered KitKat. You take a bit more time. And if it's weather like the weather we've had in parts of 2026, you get to your 3rd or 4th finger, and it's starting to get quite sticky. And then you get chocolatey fingers, and you're on a train, and unless you're, properly prepared, and you've got wipes or whatever, most people aren't, it's all a bit, and then you put your chocolatey fingers all over your phone. Whereas, because you have to, I don't know, it depends how you eat it, but for me, I wouldn't use a bit of wrapper to eat my finger of KitKat. So you're using your fingers, right? Whereas other chocolate bars, even if it melts, so it's a Mars bar. I don't know anyone who takes the Mars bar out completely of the wrapper and is just holding it naked and eating it. You eat it from the wrapper, right? And that's always felt the problem with the KitKat, particularly a 4-fingered KitKat, is that by the time you get to fingers 3 and 4, it's all a bit melty and a bit sticky.
See, I always have 2 at a time, which might
2 fingers
be the trick. Try that next time.
Yeah, okay. Interesting.
Okay, that's quite industrial. Really. I mean, God made them in 4 pieces so that you have 4 pieces, but you double up.
Well, yeah, I think it's partly A, because otherwise it does take too long to eat the whole packet, but B, I find that one on its own isn't substantial enough. Like, it's not, it doesn't taste of anything. It's like, oh, it's gone in 2 seconds, and it's not, I want to chew it. I like chocolate. I want to feel the taste of it. And I feel like if you just have 1 finger on its own, it's like a nothingness. But 2 is like I've eaten a bit of chocolate.
One of our most famous ex-Prime Ministers, Gordon Brown, he of the bitten fingernails and the famous jaw drop.
Jag.
I read one of his aides said that Gordon insisted on having afternoon tea and a saucer of KitKat.
A saucer?
And I wanted to know more. I wanted to know, did he have it opened and wrapped and broken into 4 fingers for him, or did he do that himself? And then along came another aide who contradicted this story and said Gordon Brown always has 3 plain McVitie's digestives with his cup of afternoon tea. And so I just don't know, between the devil and the deep blue sea, which was which. I can see Gordon Brown with a KitKat, because he was a hefty fella, and a KitKat would go nowhere on him, would it?
Well, his wife famously said she try and get him to lose weight. She put him on a diet, which meant he had to leave out his mid-afternoon KitKat.
So there you go. So maybe that was during the dieting phase that you saw the biscuits come out. But then biscuits aren't any good for you either.
No, they're not, and I find it very difficult to eat one. So I don't eat any. I try not to go
I've
to
not
any
had biscuit for years.
Got a biscuit jar at home, and I've never used it. Never been there. Looks good though. It's glass, so you can see the biscuits
Yeah, we've got
lying
one of those.
there going,
Yeah.
come and get me.
We have that because I feel like for guests, if anyone comes round, I don't know, it's like a hospitality thing. You feel like you want something available should somebody
Yes.
suddenly knock at the door.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? But yet they're sitting there for probably months on end and probably really stale. So even if you did give one to a guest, it's probably not that nice, to be honest. It's not that welcoming, is it, to give somebody an old stale biscuit out of your jar?
Well, it's pretty
Biscuits
offensive.
go stale? Do they go off?
Do they?
I've never
Well,
seen a
they
biscuit
must
go
do.
off.
They go soft.
think would-
They go
Yeah.
soft. That's what they do.
Soft.
They go soft, and there's nothing more disheartening than taking a biscuit from someone and it's a soft biscuit. We don't have biscuits in the house because no one's really into biscuits. Occasionally, I might bring in a packet of shortbread for some vague Scottish reasons, and if it's like autumn, November, sometimes a bit of shortbread, just one stick, is welcome. But aside from that, we don't have any biscuits.
We only have them if I get them for guests because I feel like that's a nice thing to do, but B, if I nick them from a hotel room, because you always get those little packets, don't you? The individual packets in a hotel room. You have to nick them. You have to take them.
Yeah, the biscoffies.
Yes.
I love those. Yeah, whichever hotel room I've ever been into, I always nick the biscuits from the hospitality tray, as they call it, on four in a bed, and grade people accordingly. So what I call my work bag, which is like a satchel made out of canvas, occasionally I'll be poking around in it. Oh, I've got some biscuits. Yeah, actually, you caught me out. It's the only time I have biscuits, when I've nicked them from a hotel. Well, it's not really nicking, is it?
No, because you paid for it.
Eating them elsewhere.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I have a friend who worked as a researcher on the Jeremy Kyle programme, a programme which basically let us into the lives of people who, I'm going to use the phrase, are ne'er-do-wells. And he told me a lot of stories about stuff that went on behind the scenes. Shouldn't laugh, but I'm going to. And he said one of the dilemmas is you have to get them there the night before to make sure they turn up. So you put them in a hotel. He said, and they nicked so much stuff. He said, one room was completely gutted, dismantled, everything. They took the carpets up, they took the shower curtains, they unscrewed the light fittings, they took everything.
Wow.
The room. But I also worked on a TV programme called What's Happening, which I wrote and devised. And we put the young teams, because it was for kids, they were aged 11 to 14. And we put them in a hotel next to the studios for the same reason, to make sure that they were available on time. And these kids would have their own rooms. We completely forgot that the key ring also had another key besides the door key, and that was the key to the minibar. all of them passed this information around. The first team who arrived, and they got absolutely hammered in their rooms, drinking all those miniatures.
Yeah.
Which we had to pay for, obviously, but we made sure that the keys to the minibars were taken off before they were given their keys in future. So nicking stuff.
Well, that's a
from hotels.
mistake I made when I was younger. I think one of my first hotel stays, I didn't realise you had to pay for those minibar things. I think it's something now you wouldn't even dream of it, but I think when you're first kind of exploring the world on your own without your parents, there's things like that no one tells you, right? And I think I remember once staying at a hotel and I had a few of the free, I thought the free thing. I was like, great, this hotel gives you loads of free stuff in your room. And it was like when I checked out, I had like 200 quid to pay or something for like 2 bottles of wine and some Pringles. And I was like, never doing that again.
That's a rite of passage.
Yeah.
Should we give the contact details? Is it time for that? It is time for that, isn't it?
It's time for that.
So this is on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button. Really, really helpful if you can do that. If you like what we do here, this rambling retro nonsense, please hit subscribe. And also leave comments below as well, because we do read them, and if they're relevant to anything we talked about, or even irrelevant, they'll make it onto a future episode. You can WhatsApp us. It's 07405 341 500, 07405 341 500. Any messages. And the email address is ramblingretrononsense@gmail.com.
Talk soon.